Good morning. Welcome to Best Practices TeamMate Plus. I'm James Portuguese from the NEIC, Electronic Work Paper Program Manager. Glad to see so many people interested in TeamMate Plus. Glad that you're all here. Hello? Okay. And welcome also those of you attending virtually. I have a lot of information to cover, so I want to save all questions, please, till the end of the session. And I want to get through everything, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A. Okay, by the end of the session, you'll know how to configure TeamMate Plus using best practices, and then you'll be more efficient in operating TeamMate Plus by the end of the session here. And I have kind of a mixed bag of best practices and sound practices, information for administrators, information for everyday users, and then at the end we'll do some Q&A there. Number one best practice is use NEIC Connect. Now, this is not TeamMate, but it's going to help you with TeamMate Plus. Is that everybody been in NEIC Connect? Maybe show of hands. And the regulator resources page. Have you been in that one too? Okay. There's a financial regulator resources page out there, which has information for financial examination, financial analysis, and there's also a special page out there for TeamMate Plus. I know a lot of people have been missing the TeamMate Connect application or the website, especially the chat forum that they had out there where you could pose questions to other users. Well, we have kind of reestablished that inside the TeamMate Plus area. So you can see from the menu in the regulator resources page, you can see that there's the TeamMate Plus main page. You have the TeamMate Plus forum, and that's a good place to pose questions, to pose to your peers, coworkers, other TeamMate Plus users, all regulators, so they're all using TeamMate Plus the same way that you are. Now, you still want to use the help desk, and you want to use, you can call me for technical questions on TeamMate Plus, but if you have, general questions about, what's a good function or a good way of doing something, that user forum is a good way to go. I often get questions about, are any states using this feature? And how many states are using this feature? Well, I don't know that. Although I can look at all your databases, I can see inside those databases. I don't know who's using, which states are using TeamMate Plus in which way. So for those kinds of questions, that's a good place to post those. Also included in that website, on that page, there's files. You can see the last option down here is files, so there's documentation out there to help you with TeamMate Plus. I have the latest form for adding and removing users. The latest form for coordinated exams is out there. You can download those PDFs, and there's additional documentation out there too. And that's also where we posted the updates for the handbook. So when you get a chance, log into that and take a look at it and explore the Financial Regulator Resources page. Okay, number one for best practices is start using the new user interface. The current, the old or the original user interface, which is the one down here with the blue kind of teardrop flippers for expanding and collapsing rows, that one's going away at the end of the year. So you want to get used to the new user interface, the one up above, and it looks more like Microsoft Windows File Explorer. So you already know how to use it. It has the little arrows that point sideways or down to show you what's been expanded and what's been collapsed. It's the same functionality, does the same thing, just a different look. They have also, though, improved the menus, so most of your most commonly used functions are easy to get to up at the top. So it is a bit faster using TeamMate Plus with the new interface. And again, you want to get used to that and start using it before the end of the year. Just kind of a show of hands, who all's using the new interface? Okay, and how many using the old interface, the original? Okay, Bruce. And that, actually I prefer that new, the original. It just kind of made TeamMate, but You know, they're advancing, and Wolters Kluwer's is a Microsoft partner, so I think they're making things look more like Microsoft products. So it's easier learning curve for people to learn the program. And speaking of learning, when you have a new user coming on board, you'll want them to use that original interface down below, because that's how all the training videos are set up. The training videos were created with this interface down here and not the new one. We're going to wait until the new interface completely takes over before reworking all those videos, so watch for those for new users. And if you need to switch, you need to switch between user interfaces for you doing the videos. It's easy to do. You just have to look for your name in the upper right-hand corner, and if you have the new interface, you'll have a dot with your initials in there. And then there's a drop menu from there. You go to Edit User Settings, look for the Preferences section, and you'll find a checkbox for Revert to Former UI, the former user interface. So if you have a check mark there, save that setting. It'll go to the original user interface. With one caveat there is you have to press the F5 or refresh your browser, either way, and then that change will take effect. Okay, this best practice here is more geared towards administrators. So if you have the administrator access, what you want to do is kind of clean up your security group assignments. And on the user setup page, you have a section for groups, and that group assignment controls what you have in your home menu. On the left, when you click that home menu, it controls what you see in there. Now, administrators, they have everything in the menu, including assessments, team store maintenance, and setup. So I see this a lot, especially when people were first setting up. They weren't really too sure. Administrators got in there and said, okay, well, I want to be administrator, and of course, oh, I need assessment management, and I need team store, and maybe I want to be an observer sometimes, and maybe I want to have peer prepare reviewer. Well, you don't need all those. That's too many, and I think sometimes it kind of confuses TeamMate. So what you want to do is reduce those down to just the bare minimum. Now, when you have administrator access, you have access to everything. So you don't need to add team store and assessments. If you pare it down to something like this, where we just have administrator and maybe a prepare reviewer, you'll be fine with that. You'll have access, and you have permissions to edit anything in the database. Now, that green dot in the primary column over there, that tells TeamMate what role you want to have by default when you get added to a project. So each one of these groups has a role associated with it. So the administrator group has the owner role associated with it, and the prepare reviewer has prepare reviewer role associated with it. So for this user here with the green dot down below, when they get added to a project, they'll automatically pop up and they'll have them as prepare reviewer. Now the project owner can change that to whatever they want to at that time, so you're not stuck with that. But the deal is, minimize that list. TeamMate will work better that way. And then you can, if you're an administrator, you can go in and change your own settings. Or if you're maybe like a lead administrator and you have several administrators, you can go in and change theirs too. And to find out who all has administrator access, you can go to the setup, users, and groups, and then choose select administrators, select that row, and click edit. When you do that, it'll give you a list of all the users that are in the administrator group. And from there you can see, okay, I have these 3 people. You can go in and take a look at their user setup and then adjust their groups as needed. Or you can contact them and have them do their own, because they're administrators. Same thing also here, you want to kind of clean up a little bit in assessment managers. Now, there's a lot of people that have assessment manager role that maybe don't necessarily need the assessment manager role. And the deal is here, assessment managers can create and delete assessments. Now, if you delete an assessment, all the projects in that assessment are gone. So, even if you do it by accident, which is the way it would happen, delete an assessment, all the projects are gone. The only way to get them back is to restore from a backup, and it's the prior night's backup, and people have been working in TeamMate Plus until that event happens, so they're going to lose their work when you restore the backup. So really, you want to reduce the number of people that have assessment manager access. But that, you're probably thinking, okay, well, I have people that need to create projects. How are they going to create projects? Well, they don't need to have assessment manager access to be able to create projects. You can have, a small set of assessment managers who create the assessments, and then those assessment managers can assign people to the assessment with an owner role or an observer role. So if you assign someone to an assessment as an owner, they'll be able to get into the assessment and create projects. If you assign someone in there as an observer, they can get in, they can find a project, open it up, from read-only. They can't change anything. So again, similarly, to find the people that have assessment manager access, same thing, you go to the setup page, go to users, go to groups, find the row with assessment managers, click edit, and you'll get a list of users in there. So for these users here, what you'll want to do is, if you have someone that does not need assessment manager role, but does need to create projects, you would go in and delete them from this list, then go back into the assessment, add them to the assessment as a user, and you can make them owner or make them observer. And a reason you might want to make someone an observer is like, if you have an examiner that needs to go look at some analysis work, you put them in the analysis assessment as an observer, and then go look at the work from the analysis analyst in that project for that company, so they can, leverage the work without having to be assigned. So that's a good way to do that. And same thing, so when you have someone assigned as an owner or an observer, they can go in to an assessment, they can click on a company name, click on the yellow icon, that's a briefcase with the arrow, and that means project, and you can see the list of projects that have been created for that company, all in one place. Okay, this is something here for everyone, not just administrators. Your Okta account, your login account, best practice is to set up forgot password. So you have a button down here in your login page. It says forgot password. I get calls with some frequency. Somebody says, hey, I can't log in. I reset my password, and I never got the email that says, how to reset your password. And the deal is they never set up forgot password. Now, everyone, when you got your ID, got your account, you got a message with four PDFs in it, and one of those was forgot password. And that tells you how to go into Okta and set that up. What you have to do is you have to set up, pick a challenge question, like any other password thing. Pick a challenge question, what was the name of your first dog, the name of your first car, whatever, put an answer in there, because that's what you're going to get then when you do this forgot password, and that'll make it work. So set that up, and you encourage your coworkers also to do the same thing if they haven't done that. It's a lot faster. You can reset your password on demand whenever you want, as opposed to calling the help desk or sending an email to the help desk. It'll take a while for that to happen, to turn around. So do that. And the second thing you can do here also is set up an alternate method of authentication. So most people, I think, probably use your cell phone. Does everybody use your cell phone for authentication? Okay, anybody use something else? Email? Okay. I often get a lot of calls, especially around the holidays. Oh, hey, I got a new cell phone, and now I can't log into TeamMate Plus because I can't authenticate. And so the deal is, okay, well, then you got to go to the help desk, and it takes time. So what you want to do is you want to have a backup method of authentication so you can get that, get your cell phone installed with the new Okta app on there and get that set up. You can have cell phone authentication, email authentication, And there's an option for phone call, but I'm pretty sure security has turned that off. I don't think it's as secure as it needs to be. And also, I think we need to have your phone number associated with your account, and nobody has a phone number in there. So they've turned that off. So, but I would recommend, good practice is to have an email address as your backup. And I'm pretty sure it uses the email address from your Okta account, which is your work address, your work email address. So if you don't have your cell phone, you can log in, and when you set that up, when you go to set that up, you'll have a screen that looks like this. It says extra authentication, extra verification, and it'll give you a list of options there, and you can pick the ones you want. And when you choose the one for, so you have a similar screen like this for password, and that's where you set up your challenge questions. But you can add these or remove these or set them up however you like. And then when you go to log in, you get a screen that looks like this. You have your familiar Okta icon, Okta logo up there, the blue circle with the check mark in it. And you'll have a new button, a little drop list button right there. And you can choose how you want to authenticate. So if you have a new cell phone and you haven't gotten Okta installed on it yet, but you need to log into TeamMate Plus, you can still log in and choose email authentication. It'll send you a code number. You plug that code number in, and you're in. And then once you get your cell phone set up with Okta, you can go back to using that. But you never know when your cell phone's battery's gonna die, you lose your cell phone or whatever. You have a good backup method for logging in. Okay, many of you how many use the My Apps dashboard to log in? Or you just have a shortcut to TeamMate Plus? Shortcut to TeamMate Plus? Okay. I have to use the Okta login simply because I have access to like 60 databases, 60 TeamMate Plus databases for all the states. So a good tip there is you want to turn on the most recently used list. And you can also, when you log in this way, you can have access to eyesight and feeds and expense reporting for the NEIC, all kinds of other apps in there, depending upon how your eyesight ID is set up. So it's a good way to log in. But it's a good idea, a good practice is to use the recently viewed. And I also like to set up the list view here instead of the tiles. You might have those square tiles to log into TeamMate Plus. I like that list view. It shows up in alphabetical order. It's easy to find that way. And to change those settings from the My Apps dashboard, again, in the upper right, you'll have your username with a drop list. You'll go into Preferences, and you can pick and choose how you want that screen to look. Okay, good practice, sound practice for dimensions. You really only need one dimension for all of your companies. And dimensions, just kind of to review, dimensions hold companies and assessments hold projects. So you really only need one dimension to hold all of your companies. And then you can categorize that with an entity for, right now by default, they were set up with property and casualty, life, health, and some other categories. And then you just add your companies as needed. As things change, you add companies to those rows as needed. What you also might want to do is set up another dimension for testing and training. And I like doing that because then you have your own set of fake companies off to one side. You're not going to accidentally do a test project on a real company. So you would have a test dimension with fake companies in it, use a test assessment that looks at that test dimension, and you're never going to have any crossover between the fake companies and the real companies. And so you can have, when I set up my test dimension, I like to use planet names. You could use, plant names or elements from the periodic table, whatever. I used to do training and do training manuals. And when I had to do an example like this, I used to use cartoon characters, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and Then legal said, no, you don't want to do that because they're copyrighted names. So I went to Planet. So another good tip, best practice. And then just a reminder, the red dot as you manage your dimensions, you see that top dimension, the top entity, the yellow triangles are entities. That's a title. You would never do an exam or analysis on a title. So you have that, so it's non-auditable in TeamMate terminology. And when you set that up, you go to the preferences on that row and take the check mark away from auditable, and you won't be able to create projects on that. Okay, assessments. Sound practice for assessments is you only need to have one assessment for financial examinations. That way all of your projects are easy to find and locate in one place. If you have a separate assessment each year, well, the projects can last, an examination can be up to 18 months, so they kind of overlap. Well, if you need to go back and find that project, you first have to figure out when was the last time the examination was done on that company. Then you got to go find that assessment, and you got to expand the assessment, look for the company, and then find the project. If you do it this way with just one assessment for all financial examinations, it's one place to go look. And we saw an example of that earlier where we went to a company and it showed all the projects for that company in one place. And we got into the screen coming up in a moment here. And then for your analysis, you want to do analysis, you want to have an assessment each year for your analysis projects. And we've designed it that way to use the functionality, the roll forward functionality. So from year to year, as you advance those projects, you do the roll forward for the assessment, and you do the roll forward for the projects, and it'll carry over the relevant information into the next year's analysis work. What do we have here? Oh, cert is separate for training. Okay, yeah, and I already mentioned the training. Your training assessment is separate, and we'll look at the separate dimension in there. Oh, and right now it's still kind of early in the game. You've been using TeamMate for maybe 2 years, maybe 2.5 years or so. So you don't have that many assessments out there, but as time goes on, you're going to end up with a lot of assessments out there, especially if you follow this sound practice here. You'll end up with a lot of assessments out there, especially for analysis. You want to start using the filter. There's always a filter tab, or often a filter tab on the screens you go to. So, and it's up at the top, and it's easy to ignore and overlook because you really don't need it just yet. But going forward in time, use that filter, and you have a variety of ways to filter your assessments. In this example here, the open checkbox is checked, and so I only see open assessments at this time. You can also do it by start and end dates in there if you want to do it that way. Okay, so like I was saying, with one assessment for financial examinations, you go into that assessment, you find the company, you click on that icon, which is a yellow briefcase with an arrow. It's a project icon, and it'll list your projects. And they're easy to find that way, one-stop shopping to find your projects. And notice here also that on the left side, the yellow triangle, that's the name of the company. That's the entity, the company name. On the right, you have the project name. In TeamMate Plus, those are separate things. In old TeamMate AM, oftentimes the project name was the company name. And TeamMate Plus kind of defaults to that, but you don't have to use the company name for the project name. I like to have a project name that's a little bit more descriptive, telling us what the project is. And sound practice here is prefixing your project names. So I like to use FA for financial analysis, FE financial examination, GE for group exams, and then a 2-digit for the year. So the first one there is financial analysis 2025. Down here we have a financial examination 2025, and a group exam 2024. And there's a market conduct down there too, an MC for 2025. So that's a good practice, and it's really easy to spot the project that you want. You know when it was done, and you know what kind of project it is. And again, you can put the company name in the project name if you like. So it's easy to filter that way too. You can search for projects from the projects page. Type in the search box, put a FE 25, and all your financial exams 25 or financial analysis will list that way. And you can also filter your projects. So, when you're on the assessment page, you have the blue filter tab. Same thing on the projects page. You have the blue filter tab that'll drop down, and you can filter those. So you can see where it's kind of busy when it's unfiltered, and the project names are not really standardized. It's kind of confusing to look at. For me, it is anyway. You can filter by assessment, filter projects by assessment, filter by project name, by the status, start, end dates, etc. And on the right side here, it's filtered by project. And that's a really nice filter. I like that one because you can pick specifically which projects you want to see in your display. And so I chose just that set of projects, and those are the only ones that display. Okay, for group exams, I see that a lot of, sometimes states are adding more entities in the dimension. They have an entity for groups, and they start adding group names. Group code, group name, group code, group name. We don't have to do that necessarily. This is a good sound practice here. In my example, when you create a project, the first thing you see is it'll probably say code or maybe notes up at the top there. So the default that the TeamMate put was code for that field name. I changed mine to say group number. And then when you create a project where it says project name, it'll default with the company. The company code and the company name pops in there automatically. Well, I took that out and I put in, GE for group exam. It's a year-end 24, and it's the Sol Insurance Group. And then when you do that, to begin with, you have to start with a company. You pick a company and say add a project. So that first company is going to display at the bottom there. It'll say, in this case, it was Mercury Insurance Company. You may not have noticed, but in the entity box of the Create New Project page, on the right side there, there's a Get button. So you can get more companies at this time. You can also do it after the fact, after the project's been created. But you can add companies to a project. And so I added Venus and Terra. And then you can also add folder templates at that time, or project template. So I selected the project templates to create the project with all the companies in the group in one shot. So it'll create the project. And then when you go to the projects page to look up a project, you'll see something like this, the project name. And again, yours probably says code up at the top, but I changed that to group number. So you see the project name, you see the group number, you know it's a project that you want. Click on it, click open. The project opens and it'll look kind of like this. There's always like a title bar that tells you the project name, and it tells you if the project is open, the status. And then below that, you have the yellow briefcase, which is the project name. And below that, there's your companies. So you have Mercury, Venus, Terra. And since they have the plus, they're already populated with the folder structure. Now you can use project templates, or you can, another way you can do that, when I created this project, I had it already populate with a folder structure. You can leave the project template blank. And then you would have minus signs here with nothing, but then you can go and add your own customized folder templates, however you want, to build this project out. So it's easy to do. Multiple companies can be added in there. Again, you can add companies after the fact if you need to. You forgot a company, or for whatever reason you need to add one more company. You can go to the profile page. go to dimensions, and then add company, and you get another company in there. Let's see, oh, the tip. You have a clipboard icon up here where you have the title, and it says the status of the project is open. You may have seen that, but not done anything with this icon, but that's an icon, it's a clipboard, and the clipboard icon is for an assessment, and it's got an arrow pointing backwards. If you click on that, it'll take you to the assessment that holds this project. So the assessment you went into to create this project, it'll take you right back to that assessment. So you can bounce back and forth as needed. Okay. Okay, document requests. Anybody using document requests yet? Okay, we've got some out there. Good, good. And then, I've had some calls from states that they're using ShareFile, and they're wondering if they can use this instead. I say, well, yeah, and this is free. It's included with TeamMate Plus. The document request feature is used to request information from the insurance company that you're working with. So you get information from the companies. You can examine the work paper, take a look at it before you add it to your project. The work papers go to a secure site in TeamCloud. It's very secure. The data is encrypted going back and forth. It's also scanned for malicious content. So when an insurance company sends you work papers, it's going to be scanned and it'll be compressed before it goes into TeamMate Plus. In fact, all of your work papers, any work paper that you add to TeamMate Plus is scanned and compressed before it goes into your project, into your database. So that happens here with this. What else we have? It's encrypted. Don't want to use zip files for work papers just in general, not necessarily because of document requests, but I recently spoke with TeamMate and they said, yeah, don't use zip files as work papers. Don't pull those in because, well, typically a zip program is going to scan for malicious content and it's going to compress the documents, compress the files. And then when you pull that zip file into TeamMate Plus is going to do the same thing on an already compressed file, your zip file. It's going to try and scan it, and it's going to try and compress it again. And they say that results in corrupted work papers. Sooner or later, they're going to start corrupting in there. So it's better to not use zip files for work papers, as work papers. Sounds good, sounds fast, but you're going to have problems sooner or later. Okay, couple of ways to get into document requests. In this example here, we're on the projects page, so the project lookup page. You can highlight a company, and then up at the top in the menu ribbon, there is document request. So that's one way you can do that. You don't have to open the company and then navigate to the document request tab and then do the document request. Now, from within a project, so if you're already in a project and you want to do a document request, go up here. You'll see your menu ribbon up at the top. You have Project, Insert, Edit, Document Request. Click on that, and you'll get these options under Document Request. Now, if you have any existing requests already out there, they'll be listed down below. And you can see which document requests have already gone out, which document requests have been completed, and you can move forward from there. So in this case here, you would want to add a document request. And your menu will look like this here at the top. So the document request title, Insurance Summit Agenda, that's the title for the link for the company. When the company gets this document request, they'll get an email, and there will be a link in there that they click on to send their documents. And again, those documents go into a secure space in TeamCloud. Put in a description, edit the due date, and then type in the recipient. And so here I put my name in there, an email address, and so now it knows who's going to get the document request and where to send it. So once you've done that, you want to save it, and then click the Actions, Send Request, and that will go out to the recipient at the insurance company, and they'll get a message that looks kind of like this. I have my own Department of Insurance here, which is cool. Greetings from James Insurance Department, by statute requirements, et cetera, et cetera. Then it says here, click link to open document request. So the insurance company will get this, they'll click on that link, they'll get to a page, it'll take them to a website in Team Cloud, and there'll be a page there that says, drag and drop or browse to put your files in here. Now this document here can be modified, so you can change that, and the way to do that is you customize that by going to Setup, Workflow Management, and Notifications. And then you'll have a big list of different kinds of notifications in TeamMate. You want to find the one that says Document Request Sent. So highlight that one, click Edit from the menu ribbon, and then you'll be able to customize this message to say what you want it to say. And this is a good place to use your test assessment and a test company to see how that works. Okay, so the information goes, the request goes out to the insurance company gets that, they load up the files. When they do that, they have a checkbox where they can say the list is complete, I'm done sending you documents, or they'll leave it unchecked. So that'll update the request for you also. But then what you want to do then is to process that document request, you'll get a notification, you go to your project, and then you move down to the object where you want to add the work paper. So if you want to add it to a procedure or add it to a folder, whatever, highlight that, and then go to Insert and choose Document Request. When you do that, you'll get a panel that opens up, looks like this, and it'll show you the name of the request, and then there's the work paper right there. It's that PDF. I requested the Insurance Summit agenda. You put a check mark beside it, tell it to insert, and it'll insert that work paper wherever you were in your project. Also notice there's a tab over there. It says work paper. If you go to add a work paper in TeamMate Plus, to the right you'll see document request. So that's a shortcut too. So if you're adding work papers and you want to go to document request, you can navigate between the two right there. Okay, so in this example here, I had highlighted exam planning administration. That's what I had highlighted when I went to insert document request, and when I select insert, it plugged in the work paper right there. So a few document request rules. Only 20 files per request at this time, and then there's a file size limit of 100 megabytes. And your administrator can adjust that up to a maximum of 200 megabytes. So I don't know what you're defaulting to right now, but that is modifiable, but right now there's a hard limit at 200 megabytes per work paper. And document requests and no EXE type files are allowed. Now, with the next upgrade, TeamMate Plus, day after tomorrow, Friday, TeamMate Plus is upgrading again. They're enhancing this feature, this function. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing. They haven't said, but I'm going to guess that they're going to allow for more files per request and more recipients. Because I've had a lot of people ask for, can we have more than one recipient? Instead of sending it just to one person at the company, I want to have more people. And definitely have a lot of requests for more than 20 work papers to be sent at one time. So watch for that. When you get the upgrade on Monday morning when you come into work and you start TeamMate Plus, you're going to get that, hey, you've been upgraded. There's release notes in there. Be sure and click on that and read the release notes to see details on that. And if you're in a hurry and you skip that part, you can always get to the release notes. Go to the help page. It's always all the way down at the very bottom. It'll say release notes. Click on that, and you'll pick the most recent release notes in there, and you can read that. Okay, I think we're up to Q&A time. We got 10 minutes, good. Any questions? Let's see, Jacob has a microphone back there, and Bruce has a microphone. And I can backtrack the slides here to go back to something. Any questions? It was all perfectly clear. Here we have one. Is that Pat? Oh.
This? Okay. With the document request thing, if you send out the document request to the company, but the company has a question, like clarify what exactly is being requested, some kind of question, where does the question land? To your inbox or to somewhere in response to the document request within TeamMate?
That's a good question. Would they put a comment like that in there? I think they'd probably just send you an email directly. So send an email from the company to the examiner that made the request, and that's something you might want to put in, as you customize the request, the email, as you customize that, have instructions in there. If you have any questions, contact so-and-so person. Let's see, who has more experience with that? I think Colton's has some experience with that. Have you had that situation?
Our analysts use it for their quarterly communication with companies, and the companies can just provide a response. It doesn't need to be an attachment. So okay. If they have a question for clarification, they can just reply within the document request module.
Okay, and then the submitter of that request gets an email notification that, hey, we had a question on this. Thank you. Good question. I think Pat had a question.
Yeah, if you already have multiple assessments and you want to transition to just one assessment for the exams, can you move things over into one?
No, yeah, I've tried that.
So you just got to, going forward, you can just use one, but you still have the old assessments.
Yeah, you'll just have to, remember that those are out there. I'm wondering if you might be able to hyperlink. Well, where would you put that hyperlink? Yeah, you just have to remember to check those for a while going into the future.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm from the New York City office. Does he hear me?
Let's see, where are you? Oh, there you are.
Oh, hi, I'm from New York City.
I got this light here, I can't see. Oh, I can
Hi,
see so
I'm
much better now.
So you mentioned about an upgrade of TeamMate Plus. If we're already in the middle of a client doing a market conduct exam, are we going to see this completely different version of TeamMate Plus, or are they going to wait till we finished?
Oh, everybody gets upgraded like every other month. That's upgrade cadence for TeamMate Plus is every other month, and you will get the upgrade. They just change the application. Your data won't change or anything. In most cases, everything is the same. And frequently, if a new function or a new feature, they are turned off automatically. So again, always check that release note for what's new in TeamMate Plus. And if you see a function or feature that you want to use, you have to go and turn it on. They don't turn it on for you, so all of a sudden you've got something different. It'll look the same, but you will get a notification the first time you log into a new version. You get a little pop-up and it says, hey, we've upgraded TeamMate. Here's the release notes. Here's technical information. Go and look at those. And then again, if everybody's busy, a lot of times you just skip past it. I skip past it all the time because I have 50 different databases to look at. And say, I already read this. But you can skip past it, and you can always go to the help page all the way down at the bottom. It says release notes, and you can follow up with those there. But in most cases, you really won't notice much of a difference until December. If you're using the original interface, there you'll see a difference. You won't have a choice.
Good morning, Thomas Morgan with Texas. I'm curious for other states that have the same problem, but I feel like the 200 megabit upload limit is kind of a problem for my team. I don't know if anyone else is having that same issue, but is there ever any talks of making that a larger amount? I feel like in this day and age, that's a kind of minuscule upload size.
Yeah, that would be a TeamMate developer question. I don't know if it has anything to do with sizing the database, why they have that limit in there, but I do know it's a hard limit, and in the instructions for increasing up to 200, it tells you don't put numbers larger than that, because it'll mess things up. So it probably has something to do with the database structure, I'm not sure, but I can ask TeamMate to increase that, because I know it's kind of restrictive, you know, having only 200 megabytes in many cases. So, and it's a bother too to break up a document into pieces and pull it in that way. That's the only workaround I can think of is to break it up.
Hey, James, I've got a question over here. I always have a question for you, right? On the group that you showed,
Yeah.
you showed that as being made from the company by statement type, and then you added in the additional companies, is that correct?
Two ways to do it. Good question. You can do it right up front. When you go to create a project, you go into the created project, you put in the group number. It'll probably say code up there, but you can change the taxonomy to say group number. And then put whatever you want for the name of the project. And it'll default, you know, because when you go into an assessment, first thing you do is you go to the assessment, you look up statement type, maybe you pick, you know, property and casualty, you find the company, and then you click the button over here and you add project. And then it takes you here. And by default, whatever company you were on, when you said add project, it'll put that company name here. You can take that out. It's just a project name. It's not the actual company. Companies are down below. At this time, you can add companies if you like. There will be one there to begin with. And in this case, I chose Mercury to begin with. I can go ahead and create the project like that with just the one company and then add companies after the fact if I want to. Or I can add the companies right now with that get button. It'll take you to your dimension. You can navigate, find property and casualty, find the other companies in that group, check mark, check mark, check mark, insert, and it'll add them over here.
Okay,
And then at this time here, you also have a choice of using a project template. And I don't know if you'd really want to put a full project template under each company, because there's some things going to be redundant that you want to have in a separate, you know, common folder. You can leave this blank where it says all selected, all selected. Those are your templates. You can leave that blank, not have any project template. And then when you open the project, these would be minus signs here instead of pluses. You could highlight the company, go to Get Folder Templates, and pick your customized templates to add to each company that does just the parts you want for that project.
When you utilize that, does it show up in your assessment that there is a project for Venus and for Terra as well?
Good question. No, but what it does tell you is the project name is GE24 in this case. Let me see. So you go to the assessment, you highlight a company, you click the icon or the yellow briefcase, and you get a list here. You'll have GE24, and you'll know that that is part of a group exam. You can open up that project, and you'll see the other companies. But that'll be a clue that, hey, there's more than one company. And then if I go down to Terra, I'll see that same, in this case, they're just happen to be just right beside each other in my dimension. Yeah, I'm in the dimension, looking at the dimension. But that's not always the case. You know, you might have a company here, one down here, one over here that's part of the group. They have, you know, different code numbers, and they're in number alphabetically. They're in order alphabetically. But you'll be able to see when you go to any of the other companies that are in that project, they'll have that same project name, the GE24,
Okay, so it
whatever.
does show up that they're in that project. when you go to the assessment.
Yeah, they'll all have that same project name, so you know they were part of a group exam as a single exam.
Great, thank you.
I have a quick question on the interface for the new
Okay.
interface right here.
Okay, we've got 8 seconds, a quick question.
Yes, the old interface has batch sign off. Do you know if the new one, when they phase that out, will have that for the analysts to be able to batch sign off?
I think that's available now. Yeah. Check that, the batch sign-off, I think they fixed that with the last release. But I think we're all done. I think we're over time, 30 seconds, is that right? Thank you very much for attending. We'll see you next year. We're done.